We're here. We're live. All right. Lindsay, hi.
What's up,
Welcome.
JD? Thanks for having me.
Welcome to my home on the internet. Well, everyone already knows who I am. So why don't you tell everyone who you are?
Sure, love to. First of all, I just want to say that this is a brilliant format. I really kind of wish that I had thought of it myself.
You can just do it anyway. It
might.
doesn't have. You can steal it completely. I'll give it away. You can do it as much as you want.
It down yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love having the idea of having other people come create all of the questions for you.
Oh yeah. It's way easier. I'm telling you.
Way easier. Yeah. So hi, I'm Lindsay Troxell. I'll start out with kind of the psychographics and some of the demographics of who I am. So I am neurodivergent. I have ADHD. I also was recently diagnosed as being on the spectrum. I've got dyslexia. I'm a trauma survivor. I'm child-free. I'm an entrepreneur. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in just a second. Designer hippie. I saw that you have hippie in your profile as well, so I appreciate that.
It is by ancestry even.
Yeah. Mine too. A little bit of that fortune teller in me too. I'd say I'm a little bit of a time traveler. I'm a partner. I'm a friend. So that's kind of who I am. My journey, which you intersected along the way, which is super fun to finally get to catch up with you. But I started in this industry in financial services back in 2000 when I was still in college. I went into bank operations. So I was working inside of a local bank. And I'm going to give you, because of my touch of the tism, I'm going to go chronological order here for you. Timeline specific so that we all are on the same page. So yeah, 2003, I graduated college. I stayed inside of the bank. I was doing investment and like services marketing inside of the bank. And then in 2005, became a financial advisor at Northwestern Mutual. And then in 2006, I was like, I am not meant to be an advisor. I am meant to be a coach and consultant for advisors. So I built a whole practice management program at Northwestern Mutual. I then went over to LPL. I was in Boston at the time, so I went over to LPL and I was a business consultant there, working with the largest firms from 2008 to 2014. I was working as part of their enterprise management consulting team, working with some of those big aggregators. And then in 2014, I was recruited over to TD by one of my former managers at LPL. He went back to TD at the time and continued to work with all of the RIAs, which is where I met you along the way. And so, I feel like somewhere around 2015, I started getting super frustrated working with advisors. And the reason behind that was they would come to me and they would say things like, I want to be better, I want to grow, but they weren't really willing to do the work in order to get where they wanted to go. And at the time, I was starting to recognize that there was something more that was holding people back. And I wasn't really sure how to help people tap into that. So I started getting into mindset coaching and understanding how your thoughts drive your actions. And that worked for a little while, but then it stopped working. And I knew that there was even something more other than just mindset work. So, I was at TD Ameritrade until 2018, somewhere along the way, 2017-ish. Maybe you were there. I don't know. I was doing a presentation at one of the conferences. It was in San Diego. And I did a presentation on how you can be magical inside of your practice and how you can have your own magic wand. Because all of my clients would be like, if you could just have a magic wand and give me the answer and tell me what it is that I need to do. And I would say, yeah, there it is. Yeah. So great. Exactly. I actually gave out magic wands, and we brought in an illusionist at this session where we talked all about niche marketing. It was great.
I'm so mad I missed that session. I wasn't there.
I think that it was myself and Jay Wampler, and, you know, I think Carly was there. So, you know, I'm surprised you weren't.
Oh, see, here's the problem with me at conferences. I don't go to any sessions. I just walk around the hallways back and forth and just chat with people. That's just, I can't listen to someone for an hour. That's crazy.
Oh my God. It's insane. It's insane. I completely agree. That's how I handle it too, unless I'm talking.
Well, yes, of course. That's easy. Yeah. I can talk forever.
Completely different. Completely different. So, so I was like, there's something more still going on, because I'm giving everybody the playbook and they're not taking action. So if it's not mindset work, what else is it? So in 2018, I left. I went to a small consulting firm. It was one of my first bouts with like toxic environments and psychological unsafety. Sure. And I was there for about 6 months, left, made my way to Janus Henderson. So I have now bounced from Boston to San Diego to Denver, still doing practice management consulting. But I was drawn to Janus Henderson because they started, you know, a lot of the more human first practice management content, right? Thinking about how energy impacts the way that we operate, our physical energy, our emotional energy, our mental, our spiritual. And so I did a lot of work with the Human Performance Institute at Johnson & Johnson, and worked with experts like Heidi Hanna to talk about stress in the brain. And so I was like, there's something more here. And I was starting to recognize for myself that my burnout cycles, even though I loved what I did, my burnout cycles were continuing to repeat. And so for me personally, I was like, there is something else here, because if it's just my mindset, like what I am thinking about is causing me to feel the way that I'm feeling and then do what I'm doing, why am I still finding myself in these same cycles? And so that led me to more nervous system work and somatics and understanding trauma and the brain and how we can resource ourselves internally. So in 2023, I left. I was like, I am totally done. I've always been meant to be an entrepreneur. I went to school for entrepreneurship. I've been helping entrepreneurs for my entire 20-year career. It's time for me to do what I've always known that I was meant to do, which is run my own business and do this my own way, not inside of a corporate bubble where they expect you to do it as they do. And I started integrating somatics into my practice. So our coaching initiative is my business, and we work with advisors, soul-led advisors and financial life planners and coaches and therapists. And we help those that are really trying to build future-focused firms work with the body, the brain, and the business. So that's me.
That's you.
That's me.
Here you are.
It's been so long. I feel like, were you on my panel in, I think it was 2018. Did I have you on a panel talking about next gen?
It seems likely. In 2018, I was definitely on a lot of next gen panels, but I don't recall. Was that the one with me and Alan Moore?
Yeah, you, Alan Moore, and Michael Nathanson, which I moderated. So I feel like that's actually the last time I saw you.
That's probably right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was on that panel. I remember sitting next to Alan, and both of us are like, "Wait, which of us get to be the mean one?" Like, we both want to say ridiculous stuff. We can't both be here sitting next to each other.
I know.
Who organized this?
Well, that's why we had Michael there. You know,
to be nice. Right? Exactly.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. So it's great to see you again.
Same. So, what do you want to talk about today?
I want to talk about Neurodiversity. I want to talk about, so like the questions and the thoughts that I have for today, it's neurodiversity, creating capacity, bending timelines, and then the future of what you see for the financial services industry. So
and then just get my crystal ball out. We can get the crystal ball out.
Yeah,
that'll be fun. All right, well, we can go in order since we both have a touch of all the things. Going in order sounds perfectly great to me.
Order's so good.
Oh, we'll start going out in order, and then the ADHD will kick in, and then we'll just go sideways, and then maybe we'll come back to the order, or maybe we'll never touch it again. We don't know. That's the fun.
Doesn't really matter. I always thought that would be the best session at a conference, and I got shot down over and over and over again. I was like, I just want to sit on a chair and just have people throw things at me. Like, what do you want to talk about? And it was always like, no, we can't do that. We need more predictability. Yeah, so I love this format. All right, so neurodiversity. I want to start by understanding more of your journey. So
my journey? Sure.
Yeah. What was your journey like? When did you find out that you yourself have ADHD? What was that experience like for you? And maybe before we dive in, I did a little bit of like pulling some statistics. Do you have any statistics in your back pocket? Because I grabbed some, which I thought would be interesting.
No, I don't believe in statistics.
Fabulous. Okay.
I love it. So you want to share those first, and then I can give my story, and then we can go from there.
Yeah. So what I found, right, is that there are 15 to 20% of people worldwide that are neurodivergent. There was a YoungGov poll that was done that said that 19% of Americans are identifying as neurodivergent. And then there was a 2023 study by Deloitte that said that 53% of Gen Z employees self-identify as neurodivergent. So in that study, they also had some information around like 70% of neurodivergent workers believe that there's a stigma around asking for work accommodations. And this will get into some of those questions that I have for you. So people aren't getting the accommodations that they need. Managers are refusing to provide them. People are getting more and more worried, especially as DE&I initiatives are taken away. Can people start to actually show up as themselves? So if we think about neurodivergence as ADHD, autism, dyslexia, sensory processing, highly sensitive individuals, and so many other things, right? That's kind of the space that we're working in. So with that frame, what was your journey?
One of the most interesting conversations I ever had was after I was diagnosed in 2023. I was at the T3 conference, and I was chatting with a friend. I said, yeah, I just got diagnosed with ADHD. And she looked at me like, I would have told you. I thought you knew.
Yeah, just now.
Like, what do you mean? How did you not know? Like, we all knew. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Going back to childhood, like, now the signs were there. Once I knew the signs to look for, I'm like, oh, yeah, I was a really picky eater, but it was always for weird reasons. Like, I would never eat figs because it rhymed with pigs. Totally. Now, I ate bacon. That was fine, but I just didn't want that. It was a naming thing. And so, like, from the beginning, everyone should have known, right? That it was all very clear.
There were signs.
But I had family members get diagnosed. And so I started to look at it and like, I should probably go check myself out. Right. Now I was having struggles with my partners, with other coworkers, with friends. And I'm like, my anxiety's spiking. Like, I'd never really struggled with anxiety in my life. And then things started getting anxious. I'm like, I don't understand why I have stomach aches every day. I must have an ulcer.
Yeah.
And they're like, yo, you have anxiety. I'm like, no, I don't get anxiety. They're like, yeah, I think you do. So I was going through this process to get like this daily nausea. Like, it was like from waking up to like 3 p.m. every day. and it was just from stress and anxiety and all these things. So I went out and started. I'm like, I got all the physical tests done. I'm like, they're like, no, you're great. I'm like, well, okay, well, there's another angle I should probably check out. And there was a little resistance, this like, well, but I'm very effective. I'm very successful. I make a bunch of money. I have lots of friends. I'm a great communicator. Like, what do you mean? Like, how does this all work? So I found that I talked to my therapist. And we found a neuropsych doctor to test me out, who I absolutely love. Very affirming. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look at it as a disorder, right? He's just looking like, hey, let me help you figure out how your brain works.
Yeah.
And so I went through, did that whole process with him. He went and interviewed my friends and my family and my wife and all this other stuff. He did a whole like big process. I got to stack blocks and, do those weird little, memory tests and things like that. And I learned some really interesting things about the way I process information that is extremely valuable. And he asked me one question that stuck with me really hard as we're going through the process. We've done all the testing and we're sitting down to chit chat, and I'm in my sweats, all super comfy, because he said that, show up in like your most comfy clothes. I'm like, yeah, okay. That sounds awesome. And so before he kind of gave me any idea of, what his thoughts were, he said, so tell me one thing. What's the utility of this whole process for you? And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, why are you doing this? Right. Most people who come to me are either at a job or in school where they need accommodations and they need to get a formal diagnosis so that people will give them what they want. And you don't have any of that. So what are you doing this for? I'd left Abacus. I'm on my own. I'm independent. No, it's like, so what's the point? And I said, I want to know more about how my brain works, I guess. And I didn't really have an answer for him. And then before the show, we were talking a little bit about this session I do for the externship. Hannah Moore has me every year just come and do an Ask Me Anything, and it goes for like 12 hours, right? It's a really long session. And I'd done it every year since 2020. So I'd done it 2020, 2021, 2022. Now it's 2023, and it's the fourth year I've been doing it. And so I show up and it's July, and I was diagnosed in like March or April or something like that. So still very new. Like, I'm feeling it, I'm like, both the good and the, it was all, just having the feelings about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a private person. I'm one of those people that you might only ask me how I'm doing one time, because I'll tell you. And then next time you're like, I'm not going to ask. Or you're one of those people who's like always asking, like, oh, how are you doing today? And you're like, he's going to tell me, right? Because I'm going to tell you the whole thing, right? This exactly is how my body's feeling. It's how my blah, all that stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so in that marathon session, I brought it up. At some point in the conversation, I don't remember what triggered it, and I was planning to bring it up. It wasn't like I didn't just jump into it and like, I'm going to tell everyone. I was like, no, I'm going to make sure I make that part of the conversation. So I mentioned that I'd just been diagnosed with ADHD with some autism markers. It's, I'm definitely an interesting soup. And that's just, now that I look back, something I've kind of, I wouldn't say struggled with, but just operated with my whole life. That I've always been a, bit of the odd duck. I find weird paths. I didn't graduate high school because I didn't want to finish my economics class because I hated the teacher. So I didn't end up getting my diploma on time. I took my GED and then transferred to UCLA and got a degree in economics.
Yeah.
Right. This is not normal. Yeah. Right. No one's looking at this and thinking, oh yeah, okay, that I could do that too. No one else could do that too. That's just a weird, I looked ahead, saw the path, and went down that path. And just one of those weird knacks in my head. So anyway, I was telling the story about getting diagnosed, and these are all done on Zoom. And so all of my private messages started blowing up as I'm talking. No one's raising their hand, but I start getting this like ping, 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 and it's all these people asking questions, because I let people ask private questions in that session, because I don't want them to feel like they have to raise their hand and say the thing, right? And so they start asking, and the first couple questions are like, is it okay to publicly tell people this? Like, if I'm trying to get a job, should I keep this secret? Should I? And just started to ask and this is
Yeah.
these are these questions. And of course, sitting here, I'm seeing all these things. And then I'm like, I start crying on screen, right? Of course, because that's just how it rolls.
Mm.
And I realized that that was the utility of all this for me. That it wasn't about, it was somewhat about learning how my brain works, but I already kind of figured that out. Like I didn't learn anything I didn't know. I looked deeper at some things that I'm like, oh, I thought this was a weird part of my personality that I don't understand. But so I figured some stuff out about why I do certain things, but mostly I had figured out all the the accommodations I make in my own head to get things right, all the tricks you build over a lifetime of dealing with your brain not doing certain things very well.
Yeah.
I learned that there are a few weird quirks in all those tests. Like I have a really on the test an excellent auditory memory for numbers. You read me a list of numbers forward, backwards, mix them all up, whatever, I'm off the charts. However, I always consider myself a very poor auditory learner.
Yeah.
And so I asked Dr. John about that. And I said, yeah, I don't learn. If you're talking to me, it just, it's gone. Like I don't remember anything that people tell me unless I can see it visually. But he's like, but all these tests, you're scoring off the charts. I'm like, so what's happening? How is this possible? He's like, well, what's happening in your brain? And what we figured out is that to remember all those numbers, I have I'm a CPA. So back in the old days, like you start as a CPA and you really get fast on a 10 key.
Yeah.
And so like I have 10 key hard coded in my head. And so I draw a picture on a 10 key of what all the numbers are. So I can remember what they all are and go back and look at that picture anytime I want, because my visual memory is really naturally good.
Yeah.
So I just figured that trick out, right? And so I'm really good at this thing that I'm really bad at. But I also learned that I'm not actually a very good visual learner, even though I thought I'm close to photographic memory visually. Like if I'm reading a book, I know exactly what page I stopped on. I don't use bookmarks. Yeah. I just remember. I remember exactly where I am. But then we're doing tests and they're giving me like a list of words, a list of numbers, and seeing those things and ask me to repeat them back or do them in different orders or whatever, crushing it. And then they just give me like 6 different like random glyphs that don't have any meaning to them. They're just meaningless glyphs. I am trash at remembering those. I can't do it. It was like all of a sudden my skill level just went bink. And so really I'm not a visual learner. I'm a context learner.
Yeah.
As long as there's a context for it, I can place it in my like memory palace sort of thing. And now I can remember it forever. But if it doesn't mean anything, if it's just nonsense, then I can't pay attention to it even a little bit. So like that's been this interesting thing. And now that I'm fully independent, I can do it all however I want to.
However you want.
I can. So now I always have at least 7 things that I'm doing at any given moment. And I never have deadlines for them if I can avoid it. Right now I have clients and there's stuff I need to get done for them. And so I have my productivity stuff and my task list. And so I don't drop balls. And so I'm good at not missing stuff ish. Sometimes I need to be reminded by my clients. They're like, hey, were you going to send me that thing? I'm like, yes, I was. Thanks for the reminder. And I tell them all this when I start working with them. I'm like, this is who I am. This is how I operate. Sometimes you're going to get this. Sometimes you're going to get that. And if you're wondering if I haven't gotten back to you, then it's because I forgot. Sure. And it's okay to harass me. I won't be offended. And some of them are like, yeah, that's not going to work for me. And that's okay too. I'm totally golden.
Yeah.
But what I realized is, I've always considered myself fairly lazy. And anytime I tell someone that, they're like, are you high? Look at all the things you're doing. Like, how are you possibly lazy? I'm like, because I just want to sit in my massage chair and play video games all day. Right. And they're like, well, why don't you? I'm like, well, because that thing distracted me from my leisure. And so I just have these things that constantly distract me from just chilling out and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because they're interesting. But if I'm only doing one thing, then I'll do it for 20 minutes, get bored and go play video games. But if I'm doing 7 things, then I'll do that for 20 minutes, get bored and then do the other thing and then get bored and do the other thing. By the time I get to the 7th thing, I'm not bored of the first thing anymore. So I can just wrap around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Now that doesn't mean that I don't do the classic ADHD thing of just like stopping something halfway through and then putting it down. I'm working on this job board for financial advisors. I got it to like 95% done in July and then hit the wall and I couldn't do it. And I haven't touched it since July.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, I'm like, hey, let's get this going again. And I started working on it. Now I have a working demo in one day that I could have had in July, except I just couldn't make myself do it.
Interesting.
So, that's kind of my journey. I've realized that it's not appropriate for me to work for other people, right? It's just, it doesn't work, right? They're just
My favorite thing about myself is that I call myself fundamentally unemployable.
Completely. Absolutely. All these people, they have these companies and they want you to join them. And then you join them and you're like, great, I'm going to do some stuff. And then you know what they have? They have rules. And then they want you to follow them. And I just feel like that's completely inappropriate in the workplace.
Well, especially when the rules are stupid.
Well, yeah, of course. We don't need rules. If the rules were smart, everyone would do them. You only need rules if the rules are stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, that's not my rational mind speaking. That's just the instant emotional reaction I have to any rule ever. And that's just how it rolls.
Yeah. So I want to maybe stay on that for a second. What got you in trouble along the way? If you were to look back and be able to, see clearly I'm not meant to work for other people and rules are one of those things that I never wanted to follow. What were some of the other things that got you in trouble along the way that maybe, if at all, caused you to start masking some of your tendencies? Was there anything that started to rob you along the way that you can recognize now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure lots of things, but we'll pick out a couple. I mean, one of them, obviously, that we all learned to mask fairly early on is to stop doing the things that people consider super, super weird, whether it's in public or in the workplace, like just randomly singing or making weird noises or, shaking your leg when you're sitting there, which my wife is still poking at me, or just, waving your arms around or just sitting weird or, sitting backwards in your chair or in someone else's chair or on someone's desk. I was never all that effective at that kind of masking because I just figured, well, you know what? I'll just be a theater kid and then I'll be weird. And that's fine then. I don't have to mask if I'm a theater kid because I just do weird stuff and that's what's expected. It was a little harder as a CPA working at Price Waterhouse. They didn't really like that. I actually went by Jonathan when I worked at Price Waterhouse so that I knew who I had to be. When someone said Jonathan, it was like an instant trigger to be normal.
Amazing. Wow. Yeah.
That was a whole alter identity to work there. And then I worked at little internet companies and they were okay with me being a weirdo again. But I remember my first job out of public accounting, I was working at this little internet company and I had negotiated the ability to early exercise my options so I could get the, capital gains long-term tax treatment because I'm a CPA. I'm like, I studied all this stuff. I want to do it, right? None of it really mattered at the time, but at the time it really mattered. You know what I mean? And so I went to them and said, hey, I want to do this thing. So I want you to, with the loan, early exercise. And so I can get this done with no cash changing hands. And they're like, yeah, we're doing this other like merger thing. That's not going to work. And I'm like, you said, right? And of course, now they said, so of course they have to do it because otherwise it's a complete moral injury and there's no way I can accept this.
None.
So as a junior controller, 1 year, this is my first year out of Price Waterhouse, I went to the 5 board members of the company, told them why we should do this behind the CEO's back, and actually got them to agree. And then they pushed it through for not just me, but for everyone. I was suddenly not the CEO's favorite person anymore. So like, that's, the kind of crusading energy was definitely one that I don't think I ever really was able to successfully mask because there's just no way to stop myself from doing that stuff. I think showing up at given hours has always been problematic. And so I had to create a lot of stress for myself around being punctual and make it a rule and, turn on, kind of turn up the autism dial on getting places on time so that I could use that. Having a little bit of autism and a lot of ADHD is sometimes manipulatable for me right? I can just lean toward one or the other, like, oh, we're going to go to a party. Well, I'm going to turn down the autism if I can, as much as I can, turn up the ADHD, because then we're going to have a great time,
Yes.
right? Or when I need to be somewhere on time and handle the logistics for a vacation, just turn it up the other way, right? Doesn't mean there's not problems on both sides. Other things like, following service models, where they're like, hey, okay, so we do 50-minute long meetings, and then you have a 15-minute over. And I can't do standing meetings, right? Like, I just can't, right? Someone's like, hey, I'll do a standing meeting. And I'm like, just like, no. So I think, those are some of the big ones. Those are all things that I've had a talking to about, for sure.
Yeah.
The other ones where I don't know that some of the things that have been said to me that like trigger some masking, and this is one of the ones that cut the deepest, right? I was talking to someone and she said, you make people feel stupid. And I'm sitting here like, well, first of all, what if they are, right? Is my first reaction thought, like, well, that's not my fault, right? But I just move really fast, and I don't wait. I'm going, and I get there, and then I'm like, where'd everybody go? And I don't know that I've successfully masked that one either. That one's just hard. I try and be nice to people more than I used to, but I don't actually value niceness ever, right? I value honesty, and I value goodness a lot. I value respect a lot, but I'm an actions over words kind of person, and that gets me in trouble a lot. Where I'm like, you did this, and they're like, well, you said that. I'm like, yeah, I said, but you did. That's worse. And they're like, no, words matter. And I'm like, not really, not when it comes down to compared to what you're actually doing in the world, right? I think words don't matter at all.
Yeah.
If I save your life while calling you an idiot, well, you just have to live with that, right? If I don't save your life and don't call you an idiot because I want to be nice, well, that's worse, like fundamentally. So I don't know. So those are some of the ways. What about you? What are ways you get in trouble?
I just want to say I feel completely seen. And so I echo 100% of what you just said.
Sure.
And I have known, I actually don't know if I have ADHD. I have it now because I've been medicated since I was like 16 for it. So my dopamine stores are just shot. But it wasn't until last year that I was diagnosed as being on the spectrum. And so until last year, I was like, so much of this doesn't make sense. Why is it that I am able to create all of this crazy structure and I'm not late for things? And most of that's because I've got 27 different, alarms on my phone to make sure. But why don't other people who are just primarily ADHD do the things that I do? Why am I the only one spotting all of these trends inside of this organization, doing all this stuff that is completely backwards? And why are they getting mad at me, who is a business consultant inside of their organization, pointing out the things that they're doing that make absolutely no sense? Why am I getting in trouble for that? For just pointing out the inefficiencies and what we could be doing better. And why am I getting
when you're wrong? Like, let me just tell you, it's super simple. I'll even tell you how to fix it. Somehow that's offensive.
Yeah, it's offensive. And what you said about just, I move so fast and people can't keep up.
Yeah.
And then I turn around and I'm like, why aren't you right here? Why do I need to take this back and figure it all out? So yeah, I feel incredibly seen and very heard by your stories and your journey. I also remember, along the way, clearly I don't fit the financial services mold. And it is something that I love about myself. But, as a consultant, you're expected to walk into a firm in a suit. And I also look incredibly young. I'm 44, but I look like I'm 12. And I've had many interviews where somebody says exactly that. They're like, well, my only problem is that you look like you're 12 and you probably can't follow Condoleezza Rice on stage because you don't look like you've got enough gravitas. But if we're just having a conversation and they're not seeing me,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm brilliant. But once I show up in the room as my full self, then my brain is no longer as brilliant as it was before they saw who I am.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right?
luckily I started going gray early because I had the baby face back in the day, and but I started going gray at like 32. So it was like, oh, let me just highlight the contrast in all my photos so everyone thinks I'm old. My income went way up as soon as I started going gray in this industry. It's insane.
It is insane. And
And
I
I
have
do fit
thought
the
about it.
mold, right? I am the mold. They just make all the other people out of me. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is about as moldy as you get. Moldy as you get, God.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So getting in trouble so much along the way.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, given your experience, given what this industry typically looks like and the structures that are there, what do you think what do you think that we're getting right and what do you think we're getting wrong? What are RIAs getting right? What are RIAs getting wrong as they're thinking about supporting their teams who are increasingly either recognizing that they are actually neurodivergent or are coming in and being like, God, I already know that I am, and I'm afraid to show up as my full self. What are we getting right? What are we getting wrong?
That's some great questions. I think my answer would have been different back in 2018 when we all worked in offices. And so, I mean, I think the first thing is demanding people come and work in an office is fundamentally wrong. I just think
Especially open concept.
yeah, I don't think it matters, actually, because I don't. I was very kind of a big proponent of open concept, and I actually worked way better for me, having every workplace be shared, than it did for a lot of people. Because that's how I built out our office. In our office that we built out in 2013, we built it such that no one had private space.
Yeah.
I mean, we built the little private spaces you could go retreat to, but I shared an office with one of our co-founders. All of our associates sat in offices with experienced advisors. All our CSAs sat together. We kind of wanted to create these little functional groups. Now, I'm very good at tuning things out, right? So, like, I don't have the issue of like, oh, people are talking in the background, so I can't work, right? And but for my particular blend of neurodivergence, like I would work a little bit at my desk. I would go over to the comfy chairs. I'd go to the coffee bar. I'd go sit in someone else's office. I'd go sit over in the other comfy chair area. And I just work at different places throughout the day, depending on what I was doing. If I needed to write, then I'd go hide in one of the little cave rooms. If I wanted to uh, do Excel work, I'd go work around the people who were good at Excel. I'd kind of like try and absorb their skills,
Yeah, cool.
But I just, I like kind of lounging back and sitting in a comfy chair sometimes. And other times I want to stand up. And other times I want to, kind of sit on the stool at the high counter. You know what I mean? So, like, depending on who you are, if you have the kind of, you get overwhelmed by, sensory processing and you have all this noise behind you. Well, yeah, I don't care whether you're in an open concept or you're in an office. That stuff is going to happen. You're going to be interrupted constantly. And so I think in general, and you can't ever make universal rules, but the ability for someone to work at home when they're just not feeling like being around a group, I think is one of the biggest things. If you just did that, just said, look, work at home or work here, we don't care. Right. Then I think that solves about 50% of your neurodivergence issues. Because then you let people opt in or opt out to what they feel comfortable with, and then everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Right. Generally, I think schedules, just standard kind of business hour schedules in this industry are insane, and don't work for a lot of people who are neurodivergent. Obviously, again, everybody has their own unique soup. So, but allowing people to have early hours or late hours, like I don't work before 11 a.m. I'm just not good. It's not worth it. And then I'll work till about 4 and then I'll chill out. And then if I have more stuff to do, I'll do it in the evenings. And I work with clients in Australia or, other places. So like sometimes I need to take an 8, 9 p.m. call. And that's great. I'm totally happy to do that. I'm great at that time of day. But you want to talk to me at 9 a.m.? Oh my God, why would you want that? But that's just uniquely how my flow works, and allowing me to be in my flow, I'm way more productive. If you make me wake up at 9 a.m., I'll get 2 things done that day. And it'll all be like the thing I had to get done at 9 a.m. because as soon as I'm off that call, I'm just a zombie for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And it's not even regardless of what time I wake up, it's just my brain doesn't work well at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one. What are other some of the things that people are blowing? Do you have any ideas, things that you're noticing?
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're blowing it in the interview process for sure. You know,
That's
being able
interesting.
to really pull out people's superpowers and kind of test for their superpowers in the interview process. I've had a number of people, a number of advisors that I've worked with recently who are just like, yeah, that person, they just don't have the connection thing. And the first thing that my brain goes to is, I feel like you could be throwing away a really amazing candidate who just doesn't show up in the interactions the way that you think they should. And so I think that we need to do a better job of helping to educate what is neurodivergence, what does it look like, how does it show up, and what are the superpowers that you could be missing out on your team if you are just blanket focusing on whether somebody is capable of creating eye contact. So that's one of the big ones for me.
Like, why are people so weird about eye contact? It freaks me out. Like, why? I get that it's like, oh, it's a way of connecting. It's all this stuff. I totally get it. But also, like, why are you weird about it?
For the same reason.
It becomes a fetish. It's strange.
Yeah. I mean, so much of this is systemic, right? It is control. It's the same thing that we were told as kids when, like, stop fidgeting in your seat. And, that's the body's way of processing stored energy and emotion so that you can discharge and, like, stay in a regulated state. So the more you have me sitting here, the more dysregulated I'm getting. Same thing with eye contact. So I think that we just need to do a better job overall of helping to educate people on what are the different ways that this could show up. What are the different blends? Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's kind of like, I think what I'm hearing is like it's the assumptions about what's normal that's the problem. And as long as you tell them, hey, here's the list of things that are normal that aren't normal for you, but it's all normal. It's all okay. Yeah. Right. These are the things that are all on the list of ways people process, ways people show up in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And in a positive, productive way. Mm-hmm. And so just note all those, that those are all check boxes, not X boxes, Yeah. Now I just want to play with my Xbox. But yeah, that's really interesting. Just by educating people on, like, the reality of what normal is, as opposed to if that person is normal, is kind of one of the breaking places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, I think that there's a long laundry list of superpowers that we have, and seeing the future is one of them, right? I think
see further,
and in some ways operate faster and process quicker, and be willing to fail at things. I think that is something that as somebody who has struggled to conform, I've had to personally come up with so many different workarounds, and I have to be relentless in my achieving that next thing. Does this work? No, that doesn't work. Okay. It doesn't mean that I'm never going to find something that does work. I just have to keep going. Yeah. And so, like, creating that unwavering belief in yourself and learning how to make decisions and weigh decisions. And I think there's so much that, as we have had to navigate a neurotypical world, we've had to learn things that others haven't had to learn just to accommodate.
That's interesting. I mean, this ties in a little bit to kind of the innovation process
Yeah.
and some areas that I've noticed at firms, both ones I've been at and ones I haven't, just ones I've been working with, that that freedom to fail is such an enormous cultural asset to any firm that wants to be innovative. Because the instant you shut someone down one time on that idea, you'll never get innovation out of them ever again, probably ever again, no matter what. You probably is not fixable, right? Once someone especially if they're neurodivergent, they get that one shutdown and it gets hard coded that, oh, this place is not safe. It'll never be safe. It's like our ravens that are in our neighborhood. Like, you can't mess with them one time. If you mess with them one time, they just hate you forever.
It's
true.
So
you have to be always really good.
And the mental block starts, right? The mental that would happen for me. I would get shut down and I'd be like, okay, well, I've probably got less than a year before I'm out of here.
Yep.
Because this is clearly not the place that I thought it was going to be. And I want some place that is going to be innovative and looking for opportunities for us to work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. And then the other one that same thing kind of leans into is in the whether organizations are process oriented or results oriented. Where I've noticed a lot, and I have this conversation with firms all the time because every firm has heard you got to have your service model and it's got to be strict and everyone's got to follow it. And there's a degree of like, yeah, that's true. Like, you do need to have those things for training because people train faster when you have them, right? And training people faster is the 100% best way to increase your ROI on your reinvestment in people, right? You hire more people, the faster they train, the faster they're profitable. And I get that. And I preach it. Like, this is like my religion, right? Is training people quickly. That said, it's not always forcing people to follow a process will both shut down innovation and will actually, I think, create worse outcomes over time. And that's not every industry, but that's professional services, because professionals are, the way we organize our businesses is around people having good judgment.
Yeah.
And that's what we're teaching them. Really, we're saying we want to, when we talk about training advisors, we're teaching them, hey, there's the technical training, but there's the learning that is really just, how can you have better judgment? How can you know what the right answer is more often than you do now? And giving your professionals, especially your neurodivergent professionals, that freedom to break the rules and say, well, yeah, I mean, these are the rules. This is the standard way. And now apply that to your client in the way that's best for your client. And that doesn't mean necessarily following every step, as long as by the end, the outcome is correct. So it's still compliant. It's still this, it's still that. It has to have all of the correct pieces.
Yeah.
But some people, like me, have a systematic approach to doing jigsaw puzzles. I do the edges first, I organize it by color, and I start doing it in a very systematic way, right? This is my like algorithm for jigsaw puzzle starting. I've talked to people who are apparently complete psychopaths who don't do all the edges first. They just kind of start randomly putting pieces together. That's cool. They should be able to do that, right? I mean, I don't know if I want to hang out with those people, but it's like, that's valid, right? And you should be able to break that rule and say, well, that's just not how I flow. And say, okay, flow your flow, as long as that flow creates an equally good outcome, or probably better outcome. And so I think that's another big mistake that firms make, is just they follow their rules too closely.
Yeah.
We have people watching who completely agree that edges are first. Good for you. You can stay.
Edges first, 100%.
I mean, how else? I mean, but also it's like, I love it when people are solving problems in non-traditional ways.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, right? Go backwards, start from the middle, right?
Yeah.
Just go for the goddess's face instead of the edge pieces. The edge pieces will come along at the end. That's easy.
I'm having a hard time with that. I'm having a hard time with that. Yeah.
Some people just like going their own way, as we've talked about. So like, that's
And I
cool.
love that. I do love that for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I want them to be able to do that. And so that one I feel is that process orientation is very, very critical. And quite honestly, I think those people who break the rules are your best salespeople. And everyone's like, we need to find more clients. Like, why are you making everyone read from the script then? The script is there. You got to learn the rules first, and then you learn to break the rules properly. You can't start by breaking the rules, even though I might want to. First, you got to figure it out. What's all the good stuff from that? And then let me take it.
Yeah. What do we want to keep them? What do we want to shift? Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, the last one, interestingly, depending on whether depending on what kind of neurodivergent people you're dealing with, you have change management. And, in the neurodivergent community, you're going to have some people on really barbelling on either side of the spectrum of enjoying change, right? My autism side wants everything to be the same forever and never change ever, right? My ADHD side will smash that with a sledgehammer every single time, sometimes at the same time, and therefore anxiety. But the firms that have very, very have cultures of strong attachment to slow change, I feel like doesn't serve either of those communities.
Yeah.
Right. Slow change for me feels like the opposite good path for anyone who's neurodivergent, because whether you're more on the autism side of wanting it to stay forever, or you're on the let's change it all today, if you're slow changing, both people are frustrated, right? Because they're frustrated that it's changing, but also that it keeps changing because it's so slow that they're already at the end. They're like, if we're going to change it, why didn't we just make it the new thing? Right. And then it's new. And then I can do the really actually hard work of mindset changing to say that is true to this is true.
Yeah.
Right. It can be quick, but it always feels like ripping a Band-Aid off. Right. For me, at least. And on the ADHD side, they've already made the change long time ago. They're not even going to follow your new change anyway. So it doesn't really matter, but they actually just want you to get done with it because they want to try out the new tools. And are you kidding me? I have to wait. You just announced it. Why can't I log in? You know what I mean? Like and so I feel like the neurotypical response is let's study it, let's change it, let's decide what we're going to change, and then we'll roll it out to everyone. And then the next week, we'll actually give them their logins, and we'll do a 3-month test period, and then we'll launch it 9 months later. I've lost interest 2 weeks in. You know what I mean? I'm like, already done. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm already using the new thing. They're like, we haven't fully rolled it out yet. I'm like, how do you not fully, what does that mean? So I think that's another big issue.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's an easy way? I've started to do, we just hired a new admin team. And so the first thing that I did was like, hey, here's a working with Lindsay document and some internal mantras, and like real clear, not just your value prop and your mission statement and your whole layout, but what is that internal way that we operate? Are you finding that the teams that you're working with are creating similar operating manuals that help to lay some of that out?
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, maybe some. Working with me, I feel like my general strategy for that and teaching people how to work with me is I just start extra, and I kind of intentionally magnify and almost stereotype some of my weirder traits, where I just really make them understand what they're dealing with in the prospect call. Like, okay, let me just make sure you know what you're getting into working with me, right? I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this a lot. I'm going to do this. I'm going to forget these things. I'm going to interrupt you constantly. Like, this is just how it is. And that's with clients who are going to be paying me. let alone like staff. Poor them. Like they just have to deal. And so honestly, like, I don't want to be discriminatory, but I don't know if I can hire a neurotypical person. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't know if that's going to work for me in the future. Like, I have to kind of go, well, you know, I don't know that I want to deal with that noise. Now, obviously, that's not my policy. I don't have anyone working for me, so it's even easier, except for my producer, Dylan. But, you know, Dylan gets me. So it's no problem. So that's kind of how I handle that. In terms of the clients, like kind of putting that stuff together, I don't know that anyone's cracked it. I think some of my virtual firms are just kind of normal and accepting of it. And without kind of doing personal work and really learning about some of these issues, I don't know how effective people are going to be at culture changing unless they have like a neurodivergent person in their management team who they kind of get and let them drive a little bit of this stuff, because it's both hard to explain, but in reality, there's not like a system that works, because, you know, people aren't alike in that. You don't have this homogenous group, right? It's not like, oh, we need to make sure that, that we're wheelchair accessible.
Right.
Well, that's easy-ish. I mean, it's not easy, but it's lots of stuff to do, but like it's simple. There's wheelchairs are pretty standard, right? As long as one can roll in, they can pretty much all roll in.
Right.
And so you can work through this essentially homogenous problem. But working with neurodivergent people, there's no homogenous problem because they're
different flavors,
more diverse than the neurotypical community in terms of how they operate. So like, how can you do that? The only real kind of way to do that is to just stop giving a shit about what people do that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Right? I have had lots of advisors on my team who have horrible spelling and punctuation, and they're not that good at fixing all the mistakes in their emails before they send it out to clients. They're just kind of a disaster from that perspective. And the clients are fine. The people who aren't fine are their managers and other people on their team who are like, when we make mistakes with clients, they lose trust. And the person's like, my clients fucking love me. Are you kidding me? They don't care if I misspell something. It doesn't matter. But the people who it does matter to can't wrap their head around it not mattering.
Yeah.
And it's the number of times I've almost strangled someone when I sent them a document to review from a content perspective and they changed my commas. I'm like, I randomly punctuate words. Like I capitalize words randomly, right? It looks like a horror show. Like you're getting a letter from one of those people with the magazine, words that they paste on the thing. That's what my communication looks like.
Well, because there's emotion behind everything. And there are, sometimes there's an M dash in there. And then sometimes there's not, I get it. I get you completely.
And it's cool to be, we have someone who's obsessive about the punctuation listening in here. And awesome. I love that all your punctuation is perfect. That's perfect. Just relax about mine. Yeah. It doesn't matter, right? Find the meaning in what people are trying to communicate, and then everybody's life will be better. Right? We're not parenting each other here. We're not trying to teach each other how to be good communicators necessarily. And if you think you are, it's like you're just trying to transfer your values and the things that you care about onto everybody else and assume everybody cares about the same thing. And we all know that that's not true. And we all know that's not true politically, and we all know it's not true in religion, but it's also true of punctuation. It's also true of scheduling. It's also true of making mistakes. It's also true of everything, that some people care about stuff and some people don't. And you don't have to not care about that stuff. You can still care about it. You can still, if you're the person who really cares about grammar and punctuation, that everything you get, and that you do lose trust if there's a mistake made in that regard, cool. I'm not the right fit for you, first of all, as an advisor or consultant, and you should choose someone who does match that and does give you what you need, right? No one is good for everybody. And if someone thinks they're good for everybody, then they're not good enough for anybody. because they're not really finding their people. So
I think it's hilarious you bring this up, because literally the post that I put on LinkedIn a few hours ago saying that we were going to be talking this afternoon was riddled with errors. And the second I saw it afterwards, I was like, oh shit. Well, doesn't matter. I can edit it right now, but it's fine. I'm notorious at spelling words wrong. And I do a lot of my clients, I'll put up on the screen a document and I'm typing into it as they're talking and I'm gathering, and nothing is ever spelled correctly. It's fine. Nobody has ever had a problem with it. But it is something that people do struggle to understand, that other people are not going to have a problem with this. So yeah.
Now my weird mix is I'm actually very good at spelling and punctuation and grammar. I'm quite good, but I don't follow it because I'm using it. I'm being artistic with my punctuation and my spelling and my capitalization. I'm like, no, that word needs more. So I had to capitalize the second letter in the word so that you felt it differently. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Right. It freaks me out when I write email because I don't know how I'm supposed to write it. Is it a capital E? Is it a capital M? Like what's the vibe here? Don't confuse me. And sometimes I'll do it differently. Sometimes I do it there. Everyone has their style. And the more we can get into just digging people's style, like a little bit like the way we treat music. Like there's no right way to do music. I mean, some people might think there are, but fuck those people. There's no right way to do music. Someone has a vibe and you're just following their vibe. You're like, oh, wow, you did that really cool. Right. We can do the same thing with all of our communication. Right. You do a little riff, do a little scatting, do a little normal. You're like super constrained. You're super classical. Like everything's whatever it is. Like there's all sorts of ways to communicate in music and dance and other art. Why not in writing? Why not in business writing? Why are we not being artistic with our business writing? Why are we not sending our clients haikus instead of just a standard report?
Absolutely. We can celebrate it. I kind of feel like that's where we're going, right? It's that hyper personalization and people feeling the emotion through what we're doing and creating that deeper connection in a way that defies logic. Without that, we're not having the full human experience.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, the one thing everyone can do is just stop giving a shit about anything that's weird. Like, just don't worry about it. Worry about it. If you have an advisor and all their clients keep leaving and complaining about them, that's a problem, right? And you're not you're looking at them saying, hey, this is happening. This is why they say it's happening. You got to fix this because what you want is to have clients that stay with you, and you're not getting that. So whatever you're doing is ineffective. That kind of coaching is great. Right? You're not going to be able to help them come up with a solution. Probably they need to find it for themselves, but being really, really honest and clear about the problems, and making sure we're talking about the root problem and not the symptomatic issue that you're having. Because most people are judging symptoms. You help with root problems, but you judge symptoms. I feel like is the way that most people operate. So stop judging the symptoms and just look for what's happening and see if you can help the person figure it out. Or just tell them, hey, this isn't working. And they're like, yeah, no shit. I've never had a conversation. Well, that's not true. Sometimes some people are a little delusional, but generally I've never had a conversation with someone that you're like, hey, this is a problem. And they're like, it is, they already know. They know that it's a problem. Yeah. I have had a few people, you're like, this is a problem. They're like, what? I thought I was doing great. You're like, how did you think that? Like, what did you think was happening? But some people are a little bit, neurotypical or neurodivergent. There's plenty of people who just don't have any level of self-awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, completely. What are some of your favorite tools that have helped you along the way? Are there any that you're like, oh God, I can't live without my Pomodoro timer. I can't live without this app on my phone. I can't live without this, sticky tab on the wall that when you tap your phone to it, 6 different actions happen. What are your favorite tools?
So for my typical kind of ADHD forgetting everything, 1 second after I do it. So like from a productivity tricks perspective, email and calendar is my most important thing. If I need to do it, it's on the calendar. If it's not on the
Time
calendar, I
block
won't do it.
everything.
Everything's time blocked, 100%.
Everything.
But I'm not like, that said, like, I'm not strict about it. If I need to get something done, I'll put it on the calendar at an appropriate time, and I'll just start dragging things around the calendar. Moving it around is fine as long as it doesn't get deleted until it's done. And then I have a very robust kind of, Gmail system that if it gets in my Gmail, it gets done. Doesn't necessarily get done now, but it won't get forgotten because it's now in there. Someone sends me a text, and I tell all my clients, I'm like, you can text me, I don't care, right? You can email me, you can, send me WhatsApp, any way that you can communicate to me, that's fine. But the only way that I'm going to get whatever if you're asking for something, email. Because if you do it any other way, forget about it. It's never going to happen. Honestly, that's my main productivity trick, right? Is just all requests are in email. I process it in 3 different buckets. I have my unread, which I haven't seen yet. I have my unprocessed bucket, which is I've read it, but I didn't do anything with it. Didn't reply or save it for later. And then I have my client save for later and my non-client save for later. And that's just stuff that doesn't have a deadline, because if it has a deadline, I put it on my calendar. But if there's no deadline, it's just stuff I need to get to. It goes in that. And then once a day, I look at both those lists and just say, any of these things I need to do today? No, I'm good. And then I move on. And sometimes, that could sit there for a year, right? A starred email just sitting there. It's like, oh, that's right, I need to do that thing, but I don't want to, so then it'll go. And then eventually I might reprioritize and just delete it and say, like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. It wasn't a cool idea, but it's not going to happen. So that's a big one. AI has actually been really helpful. Not having to take notes is key.
What is your AI stack right now?
I make all my own.
Cool.
So I wrote my own meeting note taker. I'm doing a lot of AI coding, actually. So anytime I need something, I just code it up. I don't have many. I'm still using Gmail and Google Calendar as a standard kind of technology piece for myself. I have some stuff that goes in Google Drive. Outside of that, I don't really have a lot of tools. All my kind of productivity stuff, if I need something, I just create it, which is been really fun. That's been about the last year I've been doing that. So I tried a bunch of different AI meeting note takers, and just none of them worked for me. I'm like, this is just not good. I want to be able to change it and do stuff and all this other stuff. So I just made my own. One day I'm like, I finally found one that I really liked. And then they put out a patch, and 45 minutes into a Zoom call, it crashed my whole computer.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So I'm like, nope, can't use that, obviously. And they've probably fixed it by now, but I'm like, I don't want to ever be stuck on someone else's thing again. So I just made my own. And that was really, really fun. I had a great time doing it. And it allowed me to start crafting a bunch of other stuff. So I'm now working on a advisor job board, which is almost done. I've taken some of my Excel tools that I use with clients to do financial projections, coded all that into a web app. I got my meeting note taker. I'm making my own CRM, just because I'm just me. I'm not a team, right? Like, I don't recommend most advisors do that with team-based software, because it's a bit of a mess. You know what I mean? To create something that your whole team can use and think about different working styles. But I don't have to think about different working styles. I just have to think about me. And so I'm like, I don't like that. So I'm just like, oh, change that. And then it changes. I'm like, good. Yay. Now it works right. And that works great.
That entrepreneurial mindset of, I'm just going to figure this out.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's such an important trait that advisors need to incorporate in. It's like, okay, well, if this isn't working, the difference between somebody who's successful and the person that isn't is the person that's successful just keeps going, right? They just keep coming up with new ways to go out there and figure new things out. There's a problem, great. Not a problem. I'm going to lean into it. And this didn't work for us, we're going to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I did learn early on with note taking that if I am writing, I can't hear. And it's just impossible. I was a really poor student until I transferred to UCLA, which is weird how I got into UCLA still being a poor student. But, there's other stuff. But once I got there, UCLA sold note copies for every class. So you just go to the notes desk and say, hey, I'm in this class, and you subscribe to that class's notes, and you pay whatever, your $50 or whatever, and then they give you all the notes for that class every week, because someone in that class is really good at notes. And my notes, oh my God, it's not okay. Like it looks like, the meme with the guy and the murder board with all that's what my notes look like.
Yeah.
Right. It looks like I'm a conspiracy theorist. It just doesn't work. But as soon as I could buy other people's notes, and then I could just go, done. Okay, cool. Now I understand the whole thing.
Sure.
Right. I don't need the explanation. I don't need to read the textbook. Just give me the summary, and then I can figure it out from there. And that's just how my brain works. And so I was suddenly a really good student. So now that this is like automatically happening behind the scenes, it just frees up my brain to be able to think about my clients' real problems. Because I'm not like, oh, I got to make sure to write that down.
So good.
Yeah. So that one. But like systematically, for me, the thing that works best if I need to get anything done, especially if I'm having a motivation issue, which I have a lot because I get bored very easily and then I don't want to do anything. So like learning a foreign language or a musical instrument is kind of a non-starter for me. It's too hard. Like it's too hard for me to devote it. And there's a lot of things like that, like going to class or going to work or whatever. Body doubling is by far the most effective thing that has ever been done in my entire life. I only got through college because I was going to community college with my best friend, and I just signed up for whatever classes he was taking. And I told him that relatively recently. I don't think I'd ever shared that with him before. And I told him recently, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. And then he kind of goes, oh, okay. Yeah, no. Yeah. Okay. I see it actually. Yep. Okay. Yep. You're welcome. Like it was, but body doubling is by far the number one thing. And if you're listening, you don't know what body doubling is. It's where you just get someone to do something with you. Especially if they're doing it too. If they're just accompanying me, it doesn't work very well. It works really well if they're at the same level I am and we're progressing pretty much the same way. So in school, it was, I'll just take whatever classes he's taking, right? And then I'll pass, because I don't want to study for the class, but I want to hang out with my bestie. You know what I mean? And what my bestie's doing is studying, so I guess I'll do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it's very easy for me to do that.
It's so effective. And luckily, I just need somebody sitting next to me. So, I need to do my taxes. You just need to sit next to me. I need to, go through my budget. You just need to sit next to me, and I will get it done. But yeah. Do you have
I have to be doing it with them. Otherwise, they have to be doing it too. I have to be able to help teach them.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? Like I have to help their learning process while we go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that I can, because I learn best by talking it out.
Yeah.
And so if I don't have anyone to do that with who's actually really wanting to listen, because if they're doing it too, they want to listen. They're like, oh, what was your insight? Oh, that's really cool. Okay, cool. Now I've learned something. But if it's just some rando and then I'm just going on to like, neurodivergent oversharing rant, then I get self-conscious.
Interesting. Well, I mean, body doubling can literally just be, have you been part of a body doubling community before online?
Where everyone just does stuff where you just, hang out together while you're working?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. And I don't think that would work for me. That freaks me out. I actually am getting uncomfortable in my chair.
I love that for you. I love that you noticed that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like, oh yeah, my feet are wiggling now. I'm like, I don't want to do that. What if they talk to me while I'm trying to focus?
Well, there's rules, and that's the problem. You can't do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You're like, rules, I'm out.
Oh no, yeah, I'd break that. It's interesting because I did get some whatever stimulant, ADHD drug or whatever. I don't remember which one they gave me. And I don't use it really because like I'm like, okay, well, I'll do that and I'll try it, but I'm gonna, and now I know, because I've tried it a couple of times. I'm like, I know I'll get in the flow and I'll be like, works really well. I'm like so in.
Yeah.
But now someone's gonna come in my office and interrupt me, and I might kill them.
Yeah.
And that's for me the biggest struggle. But like when I'm not doing that and someone comes in, like my wife comes in all the time. She wants to give me hugs or brings me a smoothie or just, whatever, just to like, give me a kiss on the head or something while I'm going, which is awesome. I love that so much. Right.
So like you can't, you don't have to leave. You still get.
Yeah, do that all and interrupt me. That's cool. You want to go in the hot tub? Sure, no problem. But if I'm now in hyper focus and I'm like on medicated hyper focus,
Yeah.
then I'll miss out on those cool things in the day because that'll make me mad instead of happy. So that I have a weird block.
So do you use any somatic techniques in order to help you like focus and concentrate in anything, breath work or cold, hot exposure or humming, or are you using any of those types of tools to help you regulate the way that you want to regulate?
It's interesting. Instead of that, like, cause I've tried some and I've played around and I've gotten all the, done all the classes, both
Yeah.
with kids and with myself and all the things like, okay, let me try that. And I keep kind of going, just, what I'll do instead? I'm just going to arrange my day where I don't need to do any of that. Right. What if I just don't have to focus? What if I don't have to?
Yeah.
What if I'm just working on something and then I just walk away from it whenever I'm done when I need to take a break from it? What if I just do that instead? What if I just I don't have any trouble focusing when I'm having a conversation with someone, right? Like that. I mean, I might space out for a minute or whatever, but I'll come back. And we have the AI note taker, so that'll remind me if I missed anything anyway. But like I can sit on that 12-hour long meeting and answer questions for 12 hours. As long as I get to be doing a lot of the talking, then I'm fine. I can focus forever, right? So I don't have to worry about that. I have to white knuckle my follow-ups, making sure that if I said, hey, I'm going to send you this document, that I actually do. So that one, I'm just like, I just have to force myself every day.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I would rather not try and technique myself into working on something for 4 hours when my natural stopping point is at 2.
Yeah.
Right. I'll just get to that natural stopping point and be like, oh, look, I have another thing going on. And so now what I actually like to do is have like 5 things that I'm in the middle of on my screen at any given time. I have giant now double monitors that are just sitting here where I could fit like a good kind of 4 documents on. And I just do that. And I just kind of am working on one thing and then I'll see another thing and I'll work on that. And so I'm doing this like such rapid multitasking that I don't ever stop being productive. And that's relatively new. And I can only do that because I'm on my own and I don't owe anybody anything.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm worried about, I told them I get that thing by Wednesday, and everyone's like, oh, do all the things you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. I'm like, fuck off. I'm going to give you the thing when you get it and it's right. How about that instead? And you'll get it and you'll be happy, and then, you'll get what you get and you don't get upset. How about that? And that works better for me. And so I don't need to breathe in or use somatic techniques. I mean, other than whatever weird tricks I've kind of, developed to just, no, I got to get that done. Cause sometimes you just got to get something done. That's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, not so much. None of them really work other than just like
Interesting.
caring. You know what I mean? If I care about something, it's going to get done on time. And if I don't care, then it's not going to get done on time. And so I try not to do anything I don't care about. And then it's not a problem, And that's only possible. I can't, that's not advice because that's not possible in most places, right?
Yeah.
Most people are given tasks that they have to do. And that's just the nature of the world for most people because that's the situation they're in. Yeah. It's just no longer the situation I'm in. Yeah. And so my mental health is much better.
Great.
Because I don't have to.
Yeah.
So, too bad. You didn't get it? Oh, sorry. You'll get it eventually. Don't worry. And if that doesn't work for you, I have a pay what you want pledge. You can just stop paying me. It's all good. Right? You don't have to keep working with me. I have no contracts with anyone. I'm like, just do your thing. Which is, that is the weirdest thing about the way I run my business that I get the most comments on is I let people pay me less if they don't want to pay me more. And I tell them you can pay me more if you feel like I do a great job. Everything's pay what you want. And if you want to stop working with me, just stop. And I'm never going to sue you. So I don't need a contract. And everyone's just looking at me like, well, what if someone tries to screw you? I'm like, well, they'll could get away with it once, but never again. Cause I'm like the Ravens. I'm not going to forget. Yeah. And I'm not going to then say like, oh, well, if I want to work with that person, I really need a contract. I'm like, I'm just never going to work with them. If I feel like I need a contract with someone because they're not going to keep their word, I'm out immediately. Just no, that's cool. I don't care how much money it is. And again, not everyone can do that. right? Because I, sold my shares in my advisory firm. So I'm not sitting here needing a client. I don't need it. I want it. I need more money in my life. I'm going to make more money, but it's not because I'm worried about paying the rent.
Yeah.
Right. I have to in that moment.
Place.
Or as I call it, there's a difference between having fuck it money and fuck you money. Right. I've gotten to fuck it money, meaning if I don't want to do something, I can be like, yeah, fuck it. Right. I don't need to do that. I don't care what the consequences are. I don't totally have the fuck you money, which is like, oh, if I don't like it, I can burn a bridge and you'll be apologizing to me, not the other way around. Right. There's a difference there. And I haven't quite crossed that second threshold, but I look forward to it someday. Then a lot of people are going to hear about it. But right now I'll quietly stop. In the future, I'll loudly stop. And I look forward to my mental health will probably go up even more.
Do you think that you were able to bend timelines for yourself? Do you believe that where you are right now is something that you saw clearly before and were able to, shrink timelines? Oh, and there's also a question.
No, that was a question to see if there are questions. No questions so far. But if you are watching and want to ask some questions, please do. And if you want to raise your hand to be on and come on live on video, then I'd love to have you here too to ask your question directly. So just post it in the chat if you want to, and our producer Dylan will give you a link, and then you click on the link, and then suddenly you're on with us and you're a new guest. So feel free if you want to come on and do that. Don't be shy. We're really nice. Lindsay's really nice. So when you say like bend time, what do you mean? Or like, what do you actually mean by that?
I believe fundamentally that all timelines are happening at the same time, like our past, present, future. It's all happening at the same time. We're just vibrating at a different.
Yeah. Time's an illusion. Sure.
Right. So, quantum wise, where you were before to where you are now, was that a bending timeline situation for you where one day you were just like, you know what? I'm going to step into this new identity that's living this other version of this life that already exists. And then once you made that decision, you were basically there. What was that like for you?
I don't know. I don't think I think like that. I think I don't actually make plans. Which is interesting as someone who was both a financial planner and someone who is now a consultant to people, helping them see the future, right? And plot out their entire plan. And my first question for everyone is like, what's your end game? Like, why are you doing this, right? Who's going to own your shares next, right? What does the last chapter of this firm look like? These are the questions I'm asking, which is so deeply antithetical to the way I think about the world, which is I don't plan anything, that I try and maintain from a decision-making standpoint for myself, a just-in-time decision-making. Like as a kid, I was a very ineffective decision maker, right? I'm a Libra and my parents would just mock us. He's like, oh, you have to weigh everything and research everything and think about it forever. Like I was that person. I did not make decisions quickly. I just thought about it forever. And then I didn't make the decision anyway. And I just kind of let it happen. At the same time, I find being in indecision extremely painful. I like certainty and I like direction and I want to know where I'm going. And if we don't know where we're going, like the nightly, like, what are we going to eat for dinner? From the time that someone says, what are we going to eat for dinner till the time I've ordered, I can feel it in my body. It's really painful for me to sit in indecision. And so I was this kid who both felt literal physical pain when sitting in indecision and could not make a decision. And so it was just constant struggle. And at some point in my mid-teens, probably, I just decided that I was going to make decisions quickly and not worry about the outcome. And I realized for myself that it's just fear, right? It's fear of failure. And so I just said, I'm going to fail as often as I possibly can and just not care. And if I fail, then I'll just move on. And then I became a very poor student immediately. But I did start making snap decisions and just not worrying about it, right? I would get enough information that I know what the decision is, and then I would just pick the one that felt right without any level of logic, which you asked me what's also gotten me in trouble. That's another big one, because I'm like, we're going to do this. And they're like, why? I'm like, because it's the right answer. They're like, well, can you prove it? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. right? And so a lot of the things that would have been really good, I couldn't do, or I had to prove it after the fact and back into the proof, just for them, which of course always feels to me like I'm teaching a kindergarten class. I'm
Yeah.
like, if you just let me cook, we'd be there already. But now I have to tell you every turn we're going to go on the drive before we get there. I don't know. I might go a different way on the way. Like, I'm going to decide that as we get there. And so I just really intentionally just said, nope, you make decisions quickly.
Mhm.
You're that person now.
Mhm.
And so I started doing that. And now I make decisions immediately. Someone says, are we going to do this? Or are we going to do that? They're like, well, why did you choose that? I'm like, I don't know. Cause it sounded better than the other one.
'Cause we
Okay,
need
fine. And
decision.
then I just go, fine, let's do the other one then. And they're like, no. Well, that's not why I pushed back. It's not that I want to do the other one. I just want to know I wanted to understand your thinking. And I'm like, no, you don't. Trust me. You do not want to try and understand my thinking. This is not something you want to get into. That's like, ooh, don't ask about religion at the dinner table, right? They're asking me how I came to a decision and how I thought about it and how my brain works. You don't want to know any of that. You don't want to see how the
But like, I think that fundamentally what's behind that is, you know, that you can make a decision, and decisions are not good or bad. They're just decisions, right?
decisions.
You
Yeah.
make a decision, then there's an outcome. And if the outcome is not what you were looking for, you make another decision. You don't get
You
stuck
fix it.
and you're like, I'm stuck here forever. So I think
Yeah.
that, seeing into your brain is actually quite fascinating, because it's being able to have your own back and be like, I am capable of making another decision if this
Mhm.
one didn't yield the result we were desiring.
Yeah. No, rapid iteration and just saying like, well, we'll just do it. And if it doesn't work, we'll do something else.
Right.
So many people struggle with that. And so I get in trouble a lot because and we're moving too quickly, but that's
Yeah.
part of it. I just want to get to the point where we can fix it,
Yeah.
because creating it is hard. Fixing it is easy. So why do we want to stay at the creating it stage, which is hard, instead of the fixing it stage, which is easy? Let's go to the easy stage.
Yeah.
So we'll get something and then we'll fix it and then we'll keep fixing it until it's right.
Mm.
And some people are planners, and that's not wrong. Like, I'm not saying like those people need to do it my way. They don't, right? They just need to kind of go, cool, well, you cook for a little while and see what you create, and then once you've created it, we'll look at it and decide if we like it. But we don't know if we like your idea because it doesn't make any sense to us. It's like, okay, cool, just get out of my way then. That's cool.
So right now, a lot of the advisors that you're working with, they're coming to you because they've got some crazy idea that other people have completely shut down and told them is crazy, right? And you're helping them to start building that thing that feels improbable to everybody else. So I'm curious, as you're doing that, what are you seeing in terms of the advisors that are coming to you that gets in their way of actually believing in what they're building towards? Like having that true conviction, like this is actually possible, or, what are you seeing that makes it hard?
Every single one of my clients is essentially in one of two situations. They are thinking, they do have dreams and desires, but they're not realistic,
Mhm.
or they don't have dreams and desires.
Mm.
And so I have one population who's coming to me, and I actually had a prospect who ended up hiring me. He said, hey, so I'm this kind of guy who's going to have 10 different ideas, and my staff hates me because they don't want to hear them all. Are you going to be able to pull me back and let me focus on like only some things?
Mm.
And I'm like,
No.
nah, brah, like that's not who you got. I can't do that. Right. What I can help you do is change the structure of your organization so that those ideas are coming from the bottom,
Mm.
and change your way of thinking so that you stop doing that. And instead, if you have ideas, don't try and push them from the top down, because your firm has gotten too big to do that. That works when you have $1 million in revenue, but not when you're at 5.
Yeah.
Right now, when you have an idea like that, you need to find someone low in your organization
Mhm.
who you think would like that idea, plant the seed of that idea in their head and see if they do anything with it. And then
Mhm.
it'll bubble up and come back to you. And for your ultimate dream of growing 100x in 10 years, why don't we focus on one that we could actually model? Right? Like, yeah, could you do that? Sure. Creative planning did. Like, go ahead. Like, if you can do that, do that. but we can't plan for that, right? So we need to plan for your realistic scenario that we can actually model and do math on, because you can't do math on, 100x in 10 years. It's not modelable, right? How you get there is uncertain because too few people have done it. But if you want to grow at 30% a year, well, we can model that. So let's model that kind of growth. And then if you're having these crazy outsized things, then we're not going to think about planning. We're going to shift gears and think about reacting and how do we react properly. So that's one population. The other ones are people who quit their job because they hated their boss, started their own advisory firm, and now have 2 million of revenue and are like, or usually it's about 1 million of revenue is the first stopping point, right? They come to me with 1 million of revenue and they're like, what do I do? I'm stuck. I don't know anything. And so I become more of a kind of a coach and educator in that regard, and mostly helping them figure out, well, why are you doing this? Let's figure that out first. And once we know why you're doing it, it'll be really easy to figure out how to do it best, because what your North Star is. And then I had that conversation and they all say like, well, I don't have one. Like, I don't know. I'm just having fun working. And which is funny because that's what I'm doing. Right. But then I'm telling them, well, no, we can't do that. But we can't do it, not because it works for me, because it's just me. It doesn't work for them because it's not just them anymore, and they have 10 people, and those 10 people all need to know where we're going. Otherwise, they're just going to mill about in the airport. They don't know what plane to get on. Like, everyone's got to know what plane to get to. So you have to tell them what your ultimate end goal is, even though that's not going to be what happens. It's not about picking something and predicting what will happen. It's about picking something so we move toward it so that we have forward motion. Absolutely. And we have momentum. And so that's the other population, right? So I'm either trying to pull people back from, I want to do 100x in 10 years, or bring people to a point where they can actually just pick a number that they want to be in 10 years. And I have never had a client so far that came to me and I said, so what's your last chapter going to look like? And they said, well, in 15 years, I want to be out of the business. And so I will want to sell 100% internal. And then those internal shares are going to go to these people. This is how they're going to finance it. Because if they knew that, they wouldn't call me. I'm sure there's lots of people who do have that and do know what they want. They just don't end up on a call with me, because why would they pay me a bunch of money to tell them something they already know? So that's the kind of main ones. We do have a question. Here we go. We got a question from someone in the audience. Restaurant FP. All of your names, by the way, on YouTube crack me up because we see your actually like username. It's amazing. I'm the person who loves to create the wheel all the time and get bored with the process. What are some tips to help me with efficiency, since the role I'm in would be easier with more process? Oof. Got any ideas there? Because we've been talking about that.
Yeah. I mean, I personally am, well, the board with the process. So I would, I get bored with the process too. As we were talking before, I create the process. I get bored with the process. I modify the process. But it depends how many, I want to know, how many people do you have following your process? Is it just you, or is it multiple people that need to follow this process? Because if it's just you, like we just said, change it.
Yeah, change the process every day, every time. Yeah. My guess is that's not a now, if Restaurant FP, if you just want to just you, okay, great. Do you want to come on the show? Do you want to come on video or not? Because then we can chat about it. But if it's just you, don't have a process. It's not more efficient. Here's the secret with process, and this is just universally true. There's nothing to do with neurodivergence. Process is not designed to be efficient. Process is designed to create efficiency. Not efficiency. Consistency. Yeah. Process means consistency. Process does not mean efficiency. You give up efficiency in order to get consistency, because everyone, given a 10-step process, could pick out 2 or 3 steps they could skip. It's just normal. Dylan, can you post something for Restaurant FP who does want to come on the show and to get a link in and get them on?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick a link into our little like waiting room second.
Awesome. And then you'll have a link here shortly. Just click on that, and then you'll be in Restream, and we'll put you on live, so we can keep talking about that. And but I tell all my clients, if you want to slow things down and make sure it's done the same way every time, that's what process is for. It reduces mistakes and it creates more consistent outcomes.
Yeah.
But by putting the process in, you make everyone follow 10 steps instead of everyone following the 7 steps they need to go. So that everything that anyone does has 3 more steps. That's inherently more inefficient. That said, sometimes you go and I take my car in to the mechanic. I want them to do the 32-point inspection and check off every box. When I go to the doctor, I want to make sure they've checked off every box. When there's things that have, process dependent outcomes, I want to make sure we check off every box. But not everything has a process dependent outcome, and not everything needs to have that level of consistency, right?
I think the other thing that's important here too is, I am a somatic coach, so I'm going to bring this in, right?
Yeah.
When I get bored, I get curious, and I'm like, I'm going to check in with my body. I'm going to check in with my brain, and I'm going to ask myself, why am I bored right now? What is it about this that feels boring? Is it that it's bland and doesn't have something in it that is going to be more exciting for me or for my client, right? I've only been in business for myself for 3 years, and the amount of change that has happened over the course of that 3 years, because I'm constantly iterating and coming up with something new, whether it's onboarding a new client or the way that we coach, I'm always changing it, not from a place of like, I want to make it confusing for my client. I'm only making the change if it feels boring or it feels like it's not necessary anymore. So I always check in. Hey, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth. Hello. I didn't realize it was you. Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Hold on. Let me pop out of the other one. Hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. On Restaurant
All
FP.
right. So you were talking about process. So tell us more. What's the process problem here?
Well, I'm just getting started with my RIA and just starting to get some clients and things like that. And I know I should have a very strict, here's what I need to ask them when I'm onboarding. For me, I just like to have the conversation with them, and hopefully it's going to be an ongoing relationship. So okay, if I forget to ask them about whether they have beneficiaries named or whatever it might be, I can get at that at another meeting, right? So for me, I just rather have it be more organic. But I know, both for compliance sake and to make sure I'm covering everything for the client, I should have this regimen to do that. And I should also have, I should follow up with an email. I should do this.
Stop shitting all over yourself, Elizabeth.
Seriously, you don't need to do any of that crap.
I don't. I'm just having the conversations, but I think it would be easier. And if I do want to grow and add some people, which it's just me right now, wouldn't that be nice to have?
JD, may I for a second?
Yeah, please go. Yes.
Well, so first of all, Elizabeth, when you think you should do something, how does that feel for you? What do you feel when you think the thought, I should do this?
It's adding something to my to-do list, and it creates a little bit of stress, right?
Yeah.
Not a ton, but enough. It's like, oh, I need to get that.
Amazing awareness. Okay, so you feel stress when you think I should be doing something. And then when you're feeling stress, what do you do or what don't you do? What are the actions or the inactions that happen when you are feeling stressed?
I think like JD, I probably put it on my schedule to do something if I feel strongly about it, that I need to do this. So then it goes on my calendar.
But I bet you don't do that from a place of stress. I bet from that place of stress, if you just stay in it for a second, you're thinking, I should be doing this. And typically when we think I should or I shouldn't be doing something, it actually creates a feeling of shame. So it's not even stress. It typically, not to say that is true for you, right? In this moment, but oftentimes as human, when we think I should be doing something, I shouldn't be doing something, it creates a feeling of shame. And when we feel shame and we're just staying in that feeling of shame, we tend to shy away from doing the thing that we actually want to do, which is where we can kind of reframe things. So like, if you really don't want to be doing this, you don't have to. There is no should or shouldn't in this world. But if you're like, I actually want to be doing this, I want to create this checklist, how would that make you feel if you really believed that to be true? I want to do it.
I would just get it done if I really, really wanted to do it. Right? I'd make the time to do it.
Right. So how does that feel? What's kind of coming up for you as we talk through that?
It's saying to myself, I guess I just don't want to do that. Right? So otherwise I'd do it. I'm a person that gets things done. You know, I don't like to have a lot of things on my to-do list. But yeah.
What would be better if you did it?
What would be better if I did it? I would feel like I was doing a better job for my clients because I would cover things that I need to cover. I know eventually I'll get to them because as you're going through the process, especially with the software I use Right Capital, but you know, it requires you to go through and get all that stuff in there. So I think it would just make me feel less stressed, but more creative, I guess, less driven by the process and more organic if I didn't do that. But if I did do that, then again, it would be nice to have this structure set up so that when I start growing and adding staff, it's ready to go.
So just a little tool. One of the things you could do is you could write down every single one of those thoughts that you just had, every single one of them. And then you have them on a piece of paper. And then you look at them and you ask yourself, what are the ones that I actually want to believe? What do I want to believe? What do I want to hold on to here? And what do I want to let go of? And then you kind of have the answer.
Yeah. Great.
JD, what do you think?
Now I got a practical trick for you, right? I think there's really kind of two types of thinkers. There are people who think and work better through rhythm, right? These are the process followers. It's like, I do better when I know there's 10 things to do and I can pop, 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 pop. Okay, do that again. Pop, 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 pop. They get that muscle memory. They get repetition. My best friend is totally this guy, right? He wants to do it. He goes, he figures out the way. He now has his way and he has to do it that way forever, right? And he knows if he just does that rhythm, then it comes out right. The outcome, he's willing to accept a failed outcome if he follows the process. He doesn't like it, but you can accept that because you did the process and you know what the success rate is. And so then you just have to do it enough times to have the right amount of success. Done. Right? He's a process thinker. And that's great. Process works great for people like him. Doesn't work for people like me. Why? Because I'm thinking about the end already. From the beginning, all I'm thinking about is the end, and I just want to get there as quick as possible. And so if we think about this practically from like a wealth management process design perspective, if you are a process thinker, then write down the 10 steps, right? And at the end of that 10 steps, you have your, call it maybe your 1-page data sheet that has all the pieces of data about the client. It's like step 1, get their revenue. Step 2, get their number of staff. Step 3, get their whatever. If you follow those that process, by the end, you'll have all the data to fill out that form. But if you're not a process thinker, then you just take the form and fill it out. And if you fill out everything you know, and then anything you don't know, ask, and then fill that out until it's all done. And it doesn't matter what order, and it doesn't matter if it's all in one meeting. All that matters is eventually that sheet gets filled out. From a additional employee's perspective, your need is to have that sheet filled out. And so then you can essentially design both the process and the outcome and let people follow whichever one they naturally fall into. And so if you are not a rhythm process person, but instead you just know what outcome you want to get to that as quickly as possible, just make sure your process is designed around milestones, where the process is create this sheet. Here's a way to do that sheet that is very efficient, or just get it done. Who cares? Then the next step, now you take that sheet, you put it in the Right Capital. Okay, well, you can have the 10-step process for where you put all the stuff, or you just have it as a reference and the end result is right capital is filled out. And then you can compare the right capital with the sheet and it's all the same. Good, you're done. Doesn't matter what order you did it in. And so you can design, as long as you're okay with outcomes as opposed to process, then you can have both paths open to whoever is doing it in a way that is convenient and healthy for everyone. I'm all about just kind of letting people find their own way to the right answer. And so as long as you are willing to let someone skip all the steps and just fill it out however they want to do it, and that the right answer is the things filled out, then you can have 5 different processes for 5 different people and it's all okay. Everyone can create their own.
Yeah.
So that's the way I tend to handle that, is just let it be outcome dependent. And then if you get bored with process, focus on the outcome. If you can't focus on the outcome, then focus on process.
Right.
And people, it's okay to think differently. My wife and I think kind of opposite in that way. She's like, okay, what are all the steps? And I'm like, I've already finished it. She's like, well, how did you finish it? I'm like, I don't know. I just wrote it down. Right. And it's so like you can have conflicts with people because of that. But as long as the answer is, well, this is right, so we're good.
Yeah.
Because all anyone needs is that sheet, and then they can move on with the next step of that, of whatever needs to get done for the client. They just need the answers. Right. So I'm a very outcome and answer to focused person. Right?
Yeah, I think I am too. And as a corollary to that, so if and when I'm ready to hire my first employee, should I hire the opposite of my tendencies to help set the firm up for more success later on, or someone who's like me and more outcome driven? What do you think?
It's a good question.
Oh man.
I don't want to take up the whole show or anything, but just curious.
JD, you want to go first?
You go first if you got a good one.
I mean, there is no right answer here, unfortunately. Yeah. It's a combination of things, right? We can definitely look on paper and be like, yeah, of course you want to hire somebody completely different so that that person can have complementary skills and you're not just trying to live inside of the same vacuum. Right. And then there's plenty of arguments to be made for, I need my first hire to be somebody who can at least interpret me. You know, I tried hiring somebody, they could not follow me at all. I had to bring in somebody who could be my interpreter first.
Interesting.
So then I could have that person help to manage other people, so that we could bring in the diversity of thought. But at first, I needed somebody who was going to be able to at least interpret me. And that's easier when you're bringing in somebody else who thinks similarly. So I can argue both directions, but that really depends, I think, on you and what you need and what your strengths are and where you want to focus. If you want to build your team further and you want to have multiple people and not just have it be you and one other person, I think that people wait far too long to bring in an operator and a manager and somebody who's able to oversee the people inside of their firm, and they rely on themselves to be that person. My first real hire was a chief of staff. Then I brought in the rest of the support team that person could oversee. So that's my thought. JD, what about you?
Yeah, both options suck, unfortunately, right? Because I've actually thought about this. I'm like, if I hired an assistant, who would I want? Right? Would I want someone opposite me who's like that super organized, like, highlighted everything? And I'm like, that'd be really cool to have a bunch of that stuff. But quite honestly, like if I really am truthful with myself, I'm not sure I'm going to respect that person. You know what I mean? Because they're so different from me that I'm like, I just can't even. You're just so... I can't work with you. It's too confusing for me all the time, right? So I don't know the answer to that, but it depends on the position as I'm thinking about it. So like if I'm running an RIA firm and I'm in your shoes and you're just growing and you're hiring your first person, the first person you hire is going to be like a client service person to do your admin work. Well, in that case, I definitely want to hire someone who's different from me because I don't want to ever hire someone like me to do admin work. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Right. But I would definitely be hiring someone who does not need to be told what to do. right? I want to hire someone that I hire and I'm like, okay, your first thing is going to be to set up payroll so you can pay yourself, right? The second thing is you're going to build all of the process that you're going to follow so that it fits you perfectly. And if they're like, but I don't know how to do any of that, I'm like, you're fired, right? You're done. I can't work with you. If I'm hiring another advisor in my firm, then I'm probably picking someone that kind of has a speed similarity to myself, like someone who's, kind of as fast as I am, but someone who has a very different kind of style and presentation. Because I would be thinking about, well, I want to make sure that I can work with a breadth of clients first, so I can help more different types of people, because the kinds of people I can help is going to be fairly narrow.
Right.
And that's just because I'm able to help people in a fairly narrow way, right? There's a lot of people who just aren't going to respond well to me. You know what I mean? It's from a financial advisor perspective, especially, right? Where we're that deep. And so I want someone who's like able to work with, who can kind of move at my pace, but can work with people that I can't work with, right? I'd hire someone who could work with like business owner engineer types, but who's as fast as me, right? I'd want to work with someone who doesn't mind explaining their thinking and the details behind what they're doing, because that's my biggest problem with working with financial advice clients, is I don't want to work with anyone who wants me to justify my advice. I want to tell them, this is what I think you should do, and I want them to go, great, how do I do that? Can you do it for me? Those are my ideal clients, right? The business owner clients that I'd work with, and they're like, cool, well, can you send me your spreadsheet that you use to calculate that? And I'm like, no, because I didn't calculate it. I just looked at your situation and knew what the answer was. I didn't need to go through and do the math. And they're like, that's not going to work for me. I need to know that you did the math, because I didn't want to do the math myself, and I want to make sure someone did the math. And I'm like, okay, if someone needs to do the math, then we'll hire someone who likes doing the math for you. So I do that from an advisor side. And then if I wanted like a COO type of person, I probably have to pick someone who's just like me, because if someone is too slow and is too prudent, then it'll just feel like I'm banging my head against the wall all day long, every day. But all that's about my own frustrations, and everything I just said says way more about me than it does about what the right answer is. But I think the right answer is look at yourself and decide what's going to work for you, because it's your company. And the whole point of you doing it that way and not working for someone else is so you didn't have to do it someone else's way, that you could be fully you. And so that's it.
I think
get yourself a working with Elizabeth document.
I'll add that to my to-do list.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's my own personal needs to function properly. And then there's what the company needs, short-term and long-term. When you were talking about the administration, setting up payroll, doing those kinds of things, I'm like, I could hire somebody temporarily to do that, get it in place, then I don't need them anymore. Right? Because I'm good enough at the administrative stuff, that stuff will work out. But long-term, as I'm thinking about my first hire, it needs to be, do I need an advisor? Do I need a client service person? Do I need a chief operating officer? What is it that I'm going to need? I don't know yet. Until the firm gets a little bit bigger and I see where the gaps are.
Yeah, that's later. One thing I'll say to you is that there is a mental perspective on your company that shifts as your company matures. Right now, and until you probably have maybe 3 or 5, 8 million in revenue, your company exists to serve you. It is there to support you, to lift you up, to give you income, to make your lifestyle good. And that works up till about that point, that kind of 3 to 8 million, somewhere in that phase. You need to shift to you're supporting your business. That size is the equivalent of like when your teenagers turn 18. You don't tell them what to do anymore, you influence, right? You're there to help them. You're not there to tell them what to do, because you can't. They just won't do it. But I think the biggest mistake there's 2 big mistakes, is they are trying to serve their business when it's small. And then when it gets big and has lots of money, they're trying to make the business serve them and suck all the cash out. And both of those are enormous mistakes. Right now, you should be structuring your business every day so that it works for you best. That's its entire reason for being. You have plenty of time later to make that mental shift when you're much, much bigger, because that's when you're starting to think about, well, I'm going to need new partners. I'm going to need this. I want the next generation to be able to buy in. As you're starting to think about those things, your business has to become independent of you in order for them to be willing to be part of it. Up until that point, they work for you. And then at that point, you work for it. And it's a very difficult mind shift to make. And some people never make it. So they get stuck at about that 3 million size. They just never get any bigger because they just can't make that shift. Maybe they get up to like 6-8 million and they're still treating it like it's their own personal piggy bank. Great. They're super rich. You know what I mean? But they can't really get past that point. And they're going to have lots of issues with staff, especially ones who might want to be next generation. So right now, just whatever makes you happy. Like literally, that's the only consideration.
And if your desire is to grow too, like ask yourself the question, how can I grow as big as I can possibly grow without bringing on more people, right? And that may look like, how can I hire somebody externally that's going to be able to come in and create some AI automations for me that I would normally have to outsource to a team member to make this more efficient. And so you might be able to hire people to do project work so that you yourself have more capacity to bring in the dollars that you want. So you may even find, and I don't know if you already have this, but you may find that the most effective first hire ends up being a personal assistant that runs your errands.
Yep.
Right. And that's the way that you're maximizing your time. So being able to sit down and be like, what does Elizabeth actually want and what does she need? It may look very different. If you're just asking financial services experts about, who is the first right hire, 100% of them are going to say a client service associate.
100%.
Yeah.
Lindsay's so right. You could probably get now these days with AI and other stuff, you could get to $1 million in revenue without anyone working for you.
100%.
Probably not without a personal assistant. Because your need to go do grocery shopping and pick up your dry cleaning or whatever you're doing, just in your
doctor's appointments and do all the life stuff.
Yeah. That takes up that's way more inefficient than like filling out Schwab forms. You just don't have that many. And right? Not these days. So much of it is automated. Yeah.
Well, thanks,
you're really right, Lindsay. I mean, it's such a great point. I was going to say the same thing too. I was saying like, okay, when she's done talking, I'm going to talk about this personal assistant thing. And then here it is. It is 100%. Do that first. Then you can always lose that person when you hire someone in the business and you want to take on more of your own,
right?
Doing your own chores perspective. But what you might find is you never go back to doing your own chores.
And because your creativity as the business owner, if you really want to be the entrepreneur advisor, right, that is coming up with, nobody's going to be able to do that faster than you. So if you can, again, get somebody to help you to create some systems that automate the work that you're doing, you're going to be able to iterate faster than anybody else. And therefore, I made that mistake myself. The first thing that I did, I brought in another coach and they had too much opinion and brilliance and in their own right, and they needed to be off doing their thing. But I brought them in and then I brought an assistant in and tried to give them specifics and they couldn't move fast enough. I need a personal assistant to run all my errands because right now I'm moving far too fast for anybody else to keep up. You're going to be able to be so efficient if you start shifting your mindset of what can I just get off my plate through automations and AI.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Lindsay. Thanks,
Holy
JD.
Moly. Thank you, Elizabeth. I really appreciate you coming on and coming live with us.
Yeah,
great. I don't know how to make Elizabeth go away, Dylan, if you could help with that. Or you can get people like Dylan who are, you hire someone to do a specific thing for you, right? Dylan manages my YouTube channel and is my producer and handles all the scheduling and all the other stuff. I never have to think about anything. I show up literally 10 minutes before the show and go on LinkedIn and say, hey, you want to be on my show? And that's literally my entire job on YouTube. And then just talk a bunch, which is not a job. That's the passion. I cannot believe we've been talking for 2 hours already. That's insane. We just dropped in so fast. Oh my God. We should wrap it up, but let's do it again.
We didn't get to aliens, but we will get there.
We didn't get to aliens. Damn it.
I know.
Okay. We'll have to have another alien show. But I would love to have you on again. I would love to do some panels with with a lot of younger people in who are breaking in. Maybe after we do the externship, we'll get something scheduled and just have a whole bunch of them come in and ask questions about neurodivergence. I want to get my neurodivergence doctor on and we can talk to them together. Like, I want to do more of these. We can have a little series of the JD and Lindsay show, just being, weirdo ADHD freaks sitting on camera, just talking about anything we want to talk about.
Squirrel.
All right. Exactly. Any last things you want to share before we run out of here and get on with our day?
No, it was great seeing you. Thank you for having me on. It was a really
great
fun chat. And
where are you now in the world?
We have just moved
You're
outside.
in Denver, you said, right?
We moved from Denver. We are now in the Reno area.
In Reno. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we wanted to be closer to Tahoe. And of course, unfortunately, that did not work out for the ski season, but
not this year.
It is 80 degrees outside right now.
It's insane. Yeah,
in Tahoe, 80 degrees. Insane.
Absolutely insane. All right. Well, it was a great pleasure. I really enjoyed having you. I hope anyone who's watching this later, feel free to post any questions in the comments. We'll make sure we get back to you. And thank you for being on the show. And I look forward to the next time.
Same. Thanks, JD. Take care, everybody.
Bye.